We live in an era of constant self-optimization. We buy the books, download the meditation apps, and follow the gurus, all driven by a quiet, persistent anxiety that we are somehow incomplete and that the next fix will finally bring us peace. This pursuit of perfection is an old story. In 7th century China, at the elite Mount Huineng monastery, the era's most respected religious minds dedicated their entire lives to this same relentless effort. These monks followed the gradual path. They believed that clarity was a distant mountain peak, reachable only through decades of rigid discipline, massive accumulation of knowledge, and a constant upward climb. Their tradition mirrors our modern trap. It is built on the assumption that we start out fundamentally broken and that we must keep adding more practice, more insight, more work to finally become whole. Huineng was the ultimate disruption to this elite world. He was an illiterate woodcutter from the impoverished south who arrived at the monastery with nothing but the clothes on his back and a history of manual labor. The head of the monastery, Master Hongren, dismissed him almost immediately. He told Huineng that a southern barbarian couldn't possibly possess the capacity for the high-level realization practiced within these walls. Huineng didn't back down. He pointed out that while geography creates divisions between north and south, the capacity for awareness within a human being is universal. It has no borders, no social class, and no hometown. For his boldness, Huineng was sent to the monastery's rice mill. For 8 months, he was kept away from the library and the meditation hall, spending his days in silent physical labor, pounding grain into flour. It leaves us with a puzzle. How could a man who had never read a single sutra, isolated in a shed, find a way to challenge a system built on centuries of scholarship and elite status? The stakes were raised when Master Hongren announced he was stepping down. He asked his monks to write a poem that demonstrated their depth of insight. The winner would inherit his authority, symbolized by the sacred robe and bowl. Everyone expected the winner to be Shenshu. He was the head monk, a brilliant scholar, and had spent decades mastering the monastery's complex teachings. Shenshu's poem used a mirror as its centerpiece. He argued that the body is like the tree of wisdom, and the mind is a mirror on a stand that must be constantly wiped to avoid collecting dust. This treats the mind as an object needing ongoing purification, an endless cycle. Dust falls, you wipe it off, and more dust immediately falls. We recognize this logic in our own lives. It's the anxiety that if we stop monitoring our flaws or cleaning our minds for even a second, we will lose our progress and fall back into our old ways. Huineng heard a monk reciting Shenshu's poem while he was working in the mill. He recognized the flaw instantly. To Huineng, the head monk was still treating the mind like a piece of furniture. Huineng asked another monk to write his response on the wall. He wrote that the tree doesn't exist, and the mirror has no stand. Since everything is empty, where could dust possibly land? If the mind isn't a physical thing, it doesn't need scrubbing. There is no surface to stick to. The dust simply passes through. He was pointing to a concept from the Diamond Sutra, a mind that doesn't dwell. It is a state of awareness that doesn't get stuck on any fixed idea, any self-improvement goal, or definition of who we are. Huineng was suggesting that peace isn't the result of a long, exhausting cleanup. It's the realization that there was never any dirt on the mirror to begin with. Master Hongren read the poem and knew the woodcutter had seen what the scholars had missed. In the middle of the night, he secretly passed the robe and bowl to Huineng, naming him the 6th Patriarch. Hongren knew the other monks would be outraged that an illiterate outsider had been chosen. He told Huineng to flee. The new leader of the tradition had to run into the mountains as a hunted man. A monk named Huineng chased him down. When he caught up, Huineng placed the sacred robe on a rock and told him to take it. But as the story goes, Huineng found he couldn't even lift the cloth. It was as if it had become part of the mountain itself. In that moment, Huineng gave the monk an instruction. Stop thinking about good or evil. Stop trying to capture a piece of fabric. Instead, find the face you had before your parents were born. It was a demonstration of his philosophy. Truth can't be stolen or earned through a title. It only appears when you stop trying to grab it and let go of your labels. Huineng spent the next 15 years in hiding, living among hunters in the forest. He didn't need a temple or a platform. He let his understanding settle into his daily life, away from the noise of the monastery. When he finally began to teach publicly, he stripped away the elitism of the path. He told people that the wisdom they were looking for wasn't hidden in a difficult book, it was already functioning inside them. At the end of his life, he reminded his students of the Diamond Sutra's final lesson, that our efforts, our attachments, and our anxieties are as fleeting as a dream, a bubble, or a flash of lightning. We can stop the exhausting work of trying to build a better version of ourselves. We can step off the treadmill. Huineng's message was that you don't need to seek the light, because you are already the light you're looking for.